going on? Welcome back to the channel. Today in a DaVinci Resolve tutorial, I'm going to teach you how to relight your videos in post. Hey, if you're new here, my name's Josh Haynes. I'm a freelance filmmaker and I bring out videos to help you grow as creators. Consider subscribing and joining the community. So today I'm going to be showing you how to relight your videos in post inside DaVinci Resolve. They just brought out DaVinci Resolve 18.5. It is in beta, so please keep that in mind before you run out, update your program, and then start editing in it. And then you have other projects that are going to crash because it's in beta and then you're screwed down the road. Keep that in mind. Anytime something's in beta, that means it's not 100% rock solid. So I do not recommend updating to DaVinci Resolve 18.5 beta unless you are good, you do not have projects that are being paid for or that you cannot afford to lose. With all that being said, let's load up DaVinci Resolve and get going. So to do this relighting effect, we are going to go inside the color page. So I'm going to click on that. We have our node already here. If we want more serial nodes, which is what we're basically going to be working off of, you could right click and you could go to add node and you have add serial node, as well as you could click on the node. You could option S on a Mac or Alt S, I believe, on a PC to add it. We're going to need 3 nodes in total. I'm just going to kind of line them up generally where I like them. Now we need to add our relighting effect. So I'm going to go to the effects panel and right here I have relight. We can scroll all the way to the top where it would normally be. You could just search for and it's going to bring relight right up here. I'm going to drop that on node 2, as well as I'm going to drop that on node 3. You can already see it's already doing its thing. I'm going to get rid of the effects just for a second so you guys can see this a little bit better. We need to connect these in the correct way so we're not having a problem later. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to connect node number 1 for my green into the top green triangle, and I am going to take my outsource into the insource. So now we're going to hop back into the effects so we can see everything. So with node 2 selected, we are going to go up here to use internal. We want to keep it as that on the surface map, but we are going to set output surface map. So it's going to be sending this to number 3. It's going to shut off all the parameters, and we're going to be doing everything inside node number 3 right here. So in here, we can start messing with different things. We could do directional, we could do point source, we could do spotlight. Again, I'm getting just a little bit ahead of myself, and you can see as I'm clicking on them, it's taking a minute, and I've got a pretty fast MacBook Pro with the M1 Max, so it's pretty spec'd out. So this is in beta. Keep in mind, this is going to be a little buggy. It will continue to get better. I'm going to focus on point source because I think that's generally the best result I've gotten out of this. Again, keep that in mind. This is the first iteration, so it is going to get better over time. I'm going to move my light source over here because that is where the light is actually coming from in the direction of it. If I shut off the relighting map preview, you can see it will take a second and then it will eventually show your image. Now, for some reason you don't have your actual light source that you can move around, we can go right down here to the bottom left on the monitor and make sure our open effects overlay is on. Otherwise, if it's off, you're not going to see it and you're not going to really know why. Make sure that is turned on. Now, what we can do is I like to leave relighting map preview on for a little bit so I can kind of get this in the general idea and spot of where I'm wanting. Again, you have all these lighting properties, surface properties, you have the light positions that you can move around if you wanted to fine tune things. I normally just like grabbing it, moving it over, and then you also have some advanced options, but I don't ever really mess with that either. Now, we've got it generally in the right spot, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit relight mapping preview off. You can see it's not really doing anything, and that's because this is actually integrating with your color wheels, your curves. So if I added a massive curve up here, it's going to eventually brighten this whole section up as if it was part of that light. So what I prefer to do is move this point source light that I have set in the area that the light is already coming from. I think this image looks good the way it is. However, I want to warm it up. So what I like to do is I like to go right down here to the color temp and I like to just lean into the more warm tones because I think it's gonna boost her skin tones and make them a little bit warmer. You can see if I click on that last node and I hit Command D to shut it off, how much cooler that image is when I have it on. It is a dramatic difference from one to the other. I always say spend the extra time, get it right in camera so you don't have to do this in post. However, there are times that I've had clients reach out and they're like, hey, can we just bring up the image on the side of their face or something to make it look a little bit better? That's where this is really gonna come in handy. Now, speaking of looking good and getting things right, let's talk about the sponsor of this video, and that is Cuts. I'm 6'5", so finding clothes that fit me is difficult. Finding high quality clothes that I like is even more difficult. That's where Cuts came in. Between the fit, the quality, the comfort, the versatility, the color, the fabric, the shape retention, and so much more. Honestly, I'm completely in love with Cuts clothing, and they are slowly taking over my wardrobe. If you guys are wanting to pick up something from Cuts clothing, I'll have a link that will give you 15% off the entire store. Use the code JoshHaynesKC and you will get that extra sweet deal on top of their amazing clothes that are insanely high quality, and you really can't go wrong with them. Thanks so much, Cuts Clothing, for sponsoring this video and other creators just like me. Here's another example of how this relighting effect can be so helpful. You can see it's a very cool image. It's already set up really nice. Maybe I just want to bring up just a little bit of the side of his face with another interesting light. Maybe I like that red coming in, and maybe I want to hit him a little bit more with something like that. So I'm going to turn back on my relighting map preview so I can set the parameters of the light that I want. For this effect, we're going to be setting at the spotlight, and then here I'm going to be moving this and setting the parameters of where I want it. Now, I do like that the beam angle, you can move this dramatically and it's going to basically be rotating the light. Think of it as a 3D light and you're turning it one way or the other, so you're hitting more of the background or you're hitting none of the background. I've got it turned to where it's hitting nothing. So if I turn it dramatically all the way to the other side, it's going to be hitting way a lot of the background. So I want to keep that somewhere in the middle where it was, maybe down towards the bottom just a little bit more, maybe in the 20s, and it's just gonna start hitting the side of his face just like that. If I want it to be a harsher line, I can turn the edge hardness down. So if I turn it all the way down, it's going to make it very sharp and very noticeable. I don't really like using that because I feel like it looks very fake. I feel like it looks like if I just did a power window or something. So I'm gonna turn that all the way back up where it was, and I think that's fine. Again, brightness is fine. I'm not really gonna mess a whole lot with these other things. Again, take your time, toy with it, see how you like it. I'm going to go ahead and shut off the map preview so I can see my image. And now what I'm going to do is I am going to start messing with the midtones. Maybe I want to bring the red up really a lot. So if we want to have a more spotlight effect on him, it's going to bring up just the spot that we're wanting to highlight, which is giving us another really cool effect. Now, of course, this is not a die-hard follow this step-by-step kind of tutorial. You can play around with all these parameters. You can try to break it. You can really do anything you want. This is the kind of things that I think Blackmagic wants us to do to see what they need to fix and possibly update it in future generations. It's scary good that this is just the first iteration of this, and I am very excited to see what Blackmagic is going to keep coming out with. I think it's just going to get better and better. That's it for me today. I hope you learned something in DaVinci Resolve. You're amazing. I'm the Iron Giant. See you next time. Peace.